Hi, I'm Jeremy Santos, and this is Crash Course US History, where we're going to talk about the Civil War and Reconstruction. Some background information that you should know about this era is that Lincoln was president and the country was split in two, the North being the Union and the South being the Confederates. War broke out when the Confederates attacked Fort Sumter, and many people believed the war would be short-lived. But, however, the First Battle of Bull Run negated those thoughts of a quick finish. After many battles, the North and South found themselves in a bloody stalemate, but eventually a turning point occurred in the favor of the North during the Battle of Gettysburg. Soon after, the war ended with the Confederate surrender at Appomattox Courthouse. However, there were post-war factions that disagreed on Southern Reconstruction policies. Radical republicanism prevailed, and they decided to split the South into different military districts. Keep in mind that the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments were passed in order to abolish slavery and ensure civil rights. Ultimately, Reconstruction ended with the Compromise of 1877, which elected Zachary Hayes, lifted martial law, and returned Southern land back to its original owners. Now let's take a closer look into the events which caused the Civil War. We know that slavery was an overlying conflict in political and economic topics between the North and the South. And this is because the North was increasingly abolitionist, while the South was resolutely pro-slavery. The Compromise of 1850 developed laws that created political uneasiness throughout the country before the war started. After the Fugitive Slave Law and the Kansas-Nebraska Act were passed, it seemed that the balance of power shifted to the South. First, the Fugitive Slave Law made the Northerners think that the South slave power aristocracy was becoming more powerful in federal government. Next, the Kansas-Nebraska Act increased slave power when it allowed states to be potentially slave states due to popular sovereignty. The Dred Scott case was a political turning point for Southern favor. Basically, the ruling was that since slaves are considered property, and that the government cannot enforce an owner to make a slave free if they both travel to a free state, and which is absolutely absurd. This made the North very mad, since that Southern slave power was becoming too powerful in all branches of government, in which to them was not democratic. Now, there were also the events of Bleeding Kansas and Harper's Ferry. In Kansas, there were pro-slavery men who supported the Lecompton Constitution and abolitionists who supported the Free Soilers. After months of bloodshed, Kansas was rendered free, however, through illegal means. John Brown's raid in Harper's Ferry. In a failed but bloody attempt to uprise the Southern aristocracy, Brown's martyrdom was symbolic of the abolitionist cause. The election of 1860 was the last straw. Now, the South didn't even have Lincoln's name on the ballot. So when he got elected, boom! Southern Carolina secedes and the Confederation formed. Now let's talk about the actual battles of the Civil War. So the North wanted to restore union. It was a noble crusade for democracy in America and the whole world. And the South wanted to be independent, free from Northern political oppression and the repression of slavery. So it was seen as a fight for democracy for the South. To win, the North used the Anaconda Plan. It's like a snake, guys. Used the Navy to block out all southern ports, taking control over the Mississippi River. This proved to be successful because they choked out southern resources, thereby getting its name, choking the South. To win, the South used attrition. They tried to wear out the northern resources and defend their home. This proved to be unsuccessful since the North almost depleted Confederate resources, not only by forced embargo, but also by cutting their railroad, ending domestic transportation of supplies. So after the Civil War, the North won, yeah! And all the states were brought back. But Reconstruction happened. The Northern political reason for entering the Civil War was to end slavery and make African Americans equal to the common white man. However, Reconstruction did not accomplish the latter. My definition of overcoming is making a formerly oppressed people fully equal to society in name and practice. Although the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments in name brought equality, in practice, the South did not allow this to happen. Therefore, Reconstruction did not overcome full equality. Let's take a look at the facts. Number 1. When Southern land was given back to its original owner, sharecropping ensued. It's a form of soft slavery in which black workers got little profit from agriculture while the owners got the rest. This was due to the Compromise of 1877 when military Reconstruction ended. Next, number 2. Jim Crow laws reduced former slaves to second-class citizens because there was neglect on enforcement of civil liberty after 1877, and the court ruling of Plessy versus Ferguson, in which African Americans were separate but equal. Such laws forced freedmen to pass literacy tests and own property in order to vote, thus failing aspirations of the northern men who fought in order to bring equality to everybody. Last but least is the KKK, known for their hellish burning crosses, white robes, and white supremacy. Starting in 1866, the Klan committed numerous and violent federal offenses, including conspiracy, assault, forced disenfranchisement, and murder. Angered by the first moments of black autonomy, the KKK would burn down the new black churches and schools and target newly elected African American leaders. Federal government in 1871 would pass the Ku Klux Klan Act, sending out federal troops to suppress the violence. But still, the KKK would leave 5 years of taint and stain on our history, deserving the last spot on our not overcoming list. Northern victory brought back union in the USA. We have the nation today because of this reconciliation. Union soldiers fought for a good cause, restoring our country, and even during Reconstruction, Confederate states were smoothly returned to the Union. In regards to the peculiar institution, however, former slaves were denied their civil liberties not by the law but by the people. If we know this, we can connect this to the causes of the war. The persistence of recognizing African Americans as property, even though they could have legally become free, vote, and hold property, just like any regular man, made this war inevitable. Although Reconstruction did not fit our descriptions of overcoming, the laws put in our Constitution were the basis for hopeful change because of our continuing support for democracy.